Welcome to Money Through Ease. I'm your host, Reagan Bashara. You're probably here because you're an entrepreneur or a business owner that thinks that I'm not doing things correctly when it comes to your business finances. If that's you, I want to help you do things correctly. I want to help you do your bookkeeping right. I want to help you understand your finances better so that you can set and achieve your business goals. And that starts with good organization. Yes, you do need to keep your receipts, and I have a free guide on my system for managing your financial paperwork, your receipts, everything that has to do with your business and your taxes. Download this free guide at the link in the show notes. It's called Chaos to Calm. And when you're ready, you can get on a consultation with me to learn more about my offers. But let's get on with the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Money Through Ease. I'm your host, Reagan. You know enough about me already. Today, I have a guest. It's Renae O'Neill, and she is a life and business coach for moms and has over 10 years experience in business as a mom. Plus, she's also the host of the Mom Boss podcast, and I was on an episode of her podcast. So depending on when these come out, hopefully that will be available for my viewers to go check out that interview as well. Her passion lies with helping moms to create a thriving business and life that they absolutely adore without sacrificing precious family time or falling victim to the dreaded mom guilt. Renae is on a mission to empower moms to live their absolute best lives and thrive, not just survive. Renae, thanks so much for being a guest on Money Through Ease. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And as you shared, being on the other side of it, because we've already collaborated in a podcast episode with you being a guest on my podcast. So now we get to role reverse.
Yes, it was so much fun being on your podcast. And you were like really digging in, like, no, Reagan, give us the steps, the practical tips that we need to get our shit together with our finances. And I'm like, I got it. Perfect. Like, do this, step one, step two, do that. And that's exactly what we talk about over here. I love to give just like totally down to earth advice for people because I know, like, I don't try to use the big accounting words and I don't try to talk over people's heads. But if I'm too vague about what I'm discussing, I understand that people can be like, what the fuck are you talking about? So with that being said, you have been in business for yourself for over 10 years. You work with people who are moms or parents and are running businesses themselves. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do in your business and who you serve.
Yeah, so I have been in business quite some time. And I've been in business throughout all the transitions and stages. So I've had a business before children, pregnancy, babies, toddlers, and now having two school-age children and running a business. So I've been through all the roller coaster that journey has, which is why I am so passionate about working with mums in business to really help them grow a successful business around their lifestyle as a mum. Because when you're a mum and you're navigating running a business, we just have some additional challenges. Now, that's not to say that everyone's not experiencing challenges.
No. You can have the challenges. I will be the first to admit I know it is a lot easier for me without having children on purpose to run my own business. I admire y'all.
But that's the thing, like we've all got so much on our plates. We're all juggling so much. And I think we can get really stuck in that juggle and we can really feel very overwhelmed at times. And so that's where I come in. I'm that support that you can lean on through those challenging times. And I can provide that guidance for you and really that mentorship and coaching that you might need to navigate through it so you can come on the other end of it. And I think the fact that I have that lived experience as well just really amplifies the experience for my clients. And I'm just so passionate about it because I want everyone to have that business that they're really fulfilled by and they're lit up by. And I don't want to see people give that dream away because it becomes all too hard.
Yeah, totally. I agree completely. And that is part of my why, what I do, as well as because I see entrepreneurship and business ownership and like working for yourself and getting to make all of those decisions for yourself, having that independence and agency over your life and how you make money as the way that you're going to make money and like truly lead the life you want to live without having to ask like permission from somebody else, right? And so my experience with my clients is that they are in that unique position where they're just like, I cannot work for somebody else anymore. And a lot of people I work with like did a side hustle and then moved
Mhm.
into full-time business ownership. Um, they had like a full-time job and they developed some sort of side gig thing that got to the point where it could support them with like an income. Do you work with folks who are like pretty much strictly, parents and caretakers, or do you also have folks that like maybe even have a full-time job in addition to the parenting and caregiving role who also want to start a business?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I too have been in that experience. So it was only like going on maybe 3 years ago that I actually gave up my career that I had to go
Mm,
all in on my business. And I think we see that so often, and I see that with my clients as well, that we often will have that career or that job that we have, and our business is a side hustle, but we want to make that our main gig. We want that to become our main source of income. And it's that transition of like, how do you step out of that place to then go all in on the business? And so
mm,
I have actually been there myself, and it's a great way to do it because you've got that security behind you of having this other income coming in while you're growing a business.
mhm.
And but the tricky part comes with the time factor of
Yeah.
not having as much time available to you to give your business perhaps what it needs or even what you want to be able to give it. And I think that's the part people can get really trapped in. And that's obviously where I come in and help my clients as well. And I think when I work with my clients, I definitely see them in all the stages. There are
Mm,
the mums who don't are on maternity leave and don't want to go back to that job, and so they want the business. I have mums who have a career, but they have this business and passion on the side that can't wait to, really step into. And then I
mm.
have the mums already in business who are just finding that juggle really difficult. So it's like all of these different realms and coming in and being able to assist in juggling it all. And I think a lot of the time that comes down to being able to get really crystal clear on what is this big picture vision goal that you're wanting to work towards? What is that dream that you're trying to create? And getting crystal clear on that, because sometimes we have an idea in mind that we're working towards this thing, but sometimes we're not really crystal clear on that.
Yeah.
And also, I think when it comes to having a business, when I say successful business, that is going to look so different person to person. My
Right.
version of a successful business might be completely different to yours and, the person listening right now. And so also getting really clear on what is it that you're wanting, what is it that you're working towards, and then we can map out a roadmap that will lead you to accomplishing that goal as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I want to go back to something you said about like what determining or looking at what kind of time you have to give to a business. So if you are considering starting a side hustle or taking your side hustle to full time or like whatever stage someone's in that process or whatever it looks like for them, I like to talk about on this podcast, like money, of course, but also like the capital. Like I'm using air quotes because capital means something in accounting, but it can be like non-tangible. It can be something that we can't like touch. And when I talk about when people start businesses, what they need to invest into their business is usually money. Of course, like we all have to like have something to put in to like open the business checking account and to like register the LLC here in the US. And you have to have some money, maybe a little bit, or maybe some available credit on a credit card. And you also have to have time. Like there are certain different resources that have to be invested in. So I think from what I have seen of your work, you help folks with the time investment part of that, like the capital of like, how much time do I even have to give to this whenever I am juggling a full-time job or not even a full-time job, parenting and caretaking and homemaking and all of that is an absolutely full-time job too. How can we kind of like make an assessment of like our time balance, or what is the framework that you use to help people determine like what amount of time do I have to give? Like how much of myself can I give without completely depleting those resources?
Yes, I think it's a really good part to get clear on this, because our time capacity and what's available to us depends on the season of life that we're in and all of those things that we're juggling. And I don't want anyone to ever be discouraged because they feel like, I have such limited time. How can I possibly start a business, or how can I possibly grow my business when I have such limited time to me?
Yeah.
And I don't want you to be discouraged by that, because it is possible to grow a business with limited time.
Yeah.
The part here is we need to be really, really intentional with the time that we have available to us. And I say that because I'll give an example of a situation that I've personally experienced.
Yeah.
When I was in the juggle of the little kids, the career, and the business being on the side, I had very limited time available to me. And I remember thinking to myself, when I get to that point, I can let go of the career and be all in on my business. When my kids get a little bit older and they're at school, I'll have all this extra time to me, and that'll be the game changer for me in my business. And what I quickly discovered and realized was, actually, it's not always necessarily about how much time we have. It's how we use the time
Mm.
that we actually do have. And
Yeah.
so I think getting clear on how much time you have available to you, and that will look like, from a practical standpoint, of doing a time audit. Sit down
Mm.
and look over a typical day in your life, a typical week in your life, and really map out, from when I wake up to when I go to bed, here's what's in my life, and
Yeah.
account for all of it. And that's something I work with my clients on doing. And it can be quite jolting, to be honest, to look at that from a real, wow, that's a lot. And you might surprise yourself. You might look at that and be like, oh, actually, I've got more time than I even realized. Or it could be a bit of a jolt to be like, wow, I really am on the go all day long and don't
Yeah.
have a lot of time. But from that perspective, once you've got clear on, this is sort of where I'm at time wise, you can then look at, okay, what capacity do I have at the moment? How much can I give in this time that I do have and in this season that I have? And then getting clear on, what are those non-negotiables in your business that you need to focus on? Those activities, those tasks, those things in your business that are going to move the needle. And
Mm.
here is where I see a lot of people get stuck, because, and I'm saying this because I've been there. I'm not saying this from a judgmental
Yeah.
standpoint whatsoever. I've been there. We often get stuck in busy work.
Mhm.
We will sit on Canva for an hour fluffing
Yeah.
around with the design of a social media post. We
Yeah.
will spend all this time fluffing around, changing little things on our website. Now, it's not to say that social media content and our website are not important, but when you have limited time available to you, you need to really look at that and be like, is this good use of my time when I have such limited time? Perhaps not. And then looking at, okay, what are those things that are really going to progress my business along? What are those things? For service-based businesses, it's going to be your client work. It's going to be getting leads in your business. And
Yeah.
if you're a product-based business, it's going to be making or sourcing those products and selling them. So it's really getting crystal clear again on your time, your capacity you have available to you, and then using it to the best of your ability. And I think that is going to be the key to unlocking that success, your version of it, for you in your business.
Yeah, that's amazing that you talked about like the difference between service-based businesses and then product-based businesses. Like it's so important for us to know the different systems we have in our business. I consider it like admin work and then client work. And there can be a little bit of overlap on those things like in my business, but for the most part there's times where I'm working in my business on my business systems and like updating things and doing the administrative kind of duties. It's not an income producing activity, except that it is part of the bigger business activity where I'm producing income in my business. But then I have the client work. I do bookkeeping for people. I train people on using QuickBooks Online. I, have like consulting that I do, and then like I'm making content. Like some of that is like just educational content. So I'm still teaching people how to do something. And there's a little bit of overlap. Like content creation is like an administrative thing, right? I'm not getting paid for content creation. Or like sitting down and doing an interview for the podcast. That's administrative, and like it's important to get clear about like both of those things need to happen in order for you to run a business, and they don't necessarily need equal amounts of time. Like if you can get really efficient and like automate a lot of stuff, you may not even need to spend a whole lot of time doing administrative work every single week or month. And you may find that like automating some things on the admin side opens you up to help more clients or do more client work or create more products. And then there's like the whole marketing and selling part of it too. Like you can't just create a website, make a product, and then just sit there. Like you have to like actively be going out and making offers and letting people know that you have something available that they probably want and they're actually like looking for. So I love that you brought up like the service-based businesses and the products-based businesses. There are some businesses that do both. But yeah, the time auditing thing, like I have to continually do that. I've been looking at my calendar. I was just playing around with it earlier. I am trying to get to the point where there are some days that I just like don't talk to people because I need to like focus. And I don't want it to be broken up with like client work or, client facing activities or I need to like sit down and like put on my little blinders. And it's so important. And that will be something that you do throughout the lifetime of your business is make
Oh,
changes to that system.
absolutely. And I think, it is important we're always reassessing because there's always going to be changes that are occurring. There's always going to be things that we need to go, actually, if I review this, it's probably not working that well for me. I need to make some changes. And
Yeah.
so one thing that I do personally and I get my clients to do is once a week, whether it be a Sunday evening or a Monday morning, whatever feels good for you, is sit down and really review your week ahead. Look at that calendar and that schedule, just like you did, and
Yeah.
see how you can, maybe fit some things in that you're wanting to, or make some changes or adjust it to suit. And I think reassessing regularly is always going to be needed because our goals sometimes change. Our availability changes, where things are changing all the time. And I think this is where for mothers, it is different too, because I think as mums, we're really good at being able to constantly pivot and adapt because when you've got kids, nothing goes to plan. We're always happy to adapt. And so I think as a mum in business, it's a bit of a superpower we already naturally possess in being able to do that. But I think it's very, very important to always check back in. And, for me, you have to also know how you best work. For me, working in batches actually works really well for me. It doesn't work for everyone though. So you've also got to find what works for you. So for me, Monday, it's not the whole day. I don't spend the whole day doing this, but Monday's theme is really focused on, admin work and working on my business, not in it, which you touched on before as well. It's like there's different tasks involved in working on the business as opposed to in it. Tuesday for me is about content creation. So that's the theme of my day. So when I'm working in business time, I will work on content creation. Wednesdays and Thursdays is all about client work, or, sometimes it's podcasting like it is today. And then for me, Friday is, and I have this luxury, I have to say, of having 2 school-age children. Friday for me, I'm like, I've really designed my life and business in a way that suits me. And so Fridays looks like Renae Day. That is a day where I get to do whatever it is that I want. And sometimes I still choose to work because I like what I do, but other times I choose to go and have a coffee with a friend or go and do something else. So I think it also helps to have a bit of a plan in place for your time as well. And that's something that not everyone likes to do because they're like, oh, I don't like it. It feels restrictive. I like to have flow in my day. But actually, you can create a plan so that you have this guideline to follow, but still have that flow that you're wanting to have in your day as well. And what I find is that having that plan in place and having a bit of a schedule in place actually allows you more freedom and flexibility on the other end of it, because you're not sitting there Monday morning coming to your desk going, right, what am I going to do today?
Yeah.
Instead, you've got this idea of, this is my plan, I already have in place. You sit down, you're like, I know what I need to do, and you get in and you get it done, allowing you more time in your day to actually do the other things that you might want to be doing as well. So I think, I know I see this with a lot of my clients. They come to me and they're like, I don't like plans and I don't like schedules. And I'm like, well, let's just work with this a bit, because you might soon come to love them. And I have to say, so far, so good. Every one of my clients has come out the other end and they're like, this isn't what I thought it would be. I was expecting it to be restrictive and really strict on my time. But in actual fact, I love it because I'm not stuck in indecision anymore, and I don't procrastinate. I just get in and get these things done. So that's something that can really, really help.
Yeah, I think that like having, instead of using the word like restrictive, I like the word constraint, because it kind of like just sets up guardrails or boundaries for me to follow. And I think back to when I worked a job and I worked off of a task list, which was based off of projects. And this is how I do all of my work. It's like something is a project and it has tasks, and I can do like these tasks on different days, and they are like, I do this one first and then I do that one. It's not like they're out of order. So like I would work off of like whatever task was coming next that has like a deadline. But when I started my business, I still was kind of operating with that formula. And I've been making the shift. Like I said, I was working on my calendar today, and I love the idea of themed days. And I already kind of was doing that, but now I am, instead of scheduling like a specific project at a specific time, I want to do like Tuesdays as like totally client work. And then Wednesday mornings, I have like a couple admin things I do. Wednesday afternoons, open it up so that people can schedule time with me. Thursday morning, same thing. But then like Thursday afternoons, I do client work. And same here. Mondays are strictly admin. Like I don't want to meet with people. I want to sit down and look at my entire week ahead and like really get a feel for like what's coming up, so that like I can get in the mindset of what, client facing meetings and stuff. Like I have to be on. There's like a certain part of my brain that has to like come online and like help somebody through a problem, versus like the flow work where I'm putting the blinders on, I put on the brown noise in my headphones and like don't talk to me for like 3 hours. And I need that in order to be productive with the client work. And I need to be like brain on when I'm talking to my clients and helping them solve a problem in the moment. So because it requires that like mental shift for me, I am slowly getting to the point where I realize that themed days are probably going to be the direction I go. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, I love that you also mentioned about your energetic capacity as well. And I think this is another key area to look at. Is it's not always just based on what time you have available. It's also like your energetics as well.
Yeah.
So knowing that, you might be really mind active of a morning, that's when your best ideas come to you. That's when you can get in, you've got the energy to, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but get shit done.
Yes, you can swear.
And so if you are aware of your energetic capacity and how you best operate and run, you can then also align your tasks to suit that. You might be someone who come the middle of the afternoon, you get that afternoon slump and you're like, actually, client work for me in the afternoon doesn't work because I need to be in that high vibe energy state to serve my clients. So I'm going to actually put my client work in the morning times. And so that helps you really work out also what tasks you do based on how you operate and run based on your capacity. And so, admin tasks don't need a lot of brain power. So that can sometimes be a really good thing to have in the end of your day, because you're like, actually, by that afternoon time, I'm starting to like lose my zest. I will do those sorts of tasks at the end of the day. And so that can really help you when you sit down and you start scheduling and you look at the tasks that you have to do. Also look at the capacity side as well. knowing
Yeah.
too that you can change your energetics as well. So
Yeah.
I know for me, before I dive into doing client work or collaborating on a podcast like this, I will get myself in that high vibe kind of state. And if
Mhm.
I'm not feeling it prior, I will jump up, I will put on my favorite 90s pop music, and I will
Yeah.
dance like a 5-year-old. And it changes my state. It changes how I feel. It changes how I'm going to show up, so that when I sit down to do those things, I show up in the kind of energetic state I want to be in as well. And so I just thought it was key to mention this, because it's not always dependent on just our time. It's also how we're feeling within that time as well.
Totally agree. And I wake up super early naturally, but I prefer to sit there and drink my coffee or like stretch or do a little like Pilates mat workout or, scroll on my phone. Like it's totally fine to want to scroll on your phone, but
Yeah.
like when's the best time to do that without like totally distracting you from something else or it turning into something that you avoid other things that you need to be doing, like scrolling time, morning, cool. And you talked about like designing your life based on um really thinking about what you want in the long run. And I think I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. When we start our businesses, we're just like, all right, well, I gotta go make some money and I'm gonna work with everybody. I'm gonna say yes to everything. And, you know, okay, but like at some point that's gonna burn you out. And you have to bring it back to what do I really want my life to look like? What kind of work do I want to be doing? Who do I want to be working with? Or who do I want my customers to be? And like starting to narrow that down. Sure, in the beginning, cast a wide net, but use that as like data collection too. Like, is that really serving my business for me to work with this person that wants me to do this for them? Like, is that how I want to be living? Because, sitting in the driver's seat as the business owner, like you do get to make all the choices. There's no one else to blame for when you have a project that you're not enjoying or a client relationship that like isn't serving either of you. Like there's nobody to pass the buck to. Like you're the one who made that choice. And that's not like a blame shame thing. It's just like that means you also have the capacity to change it, change your mindset about that relationship, change how you relate to that work, or just say, I don't want to do this anymore. Like that's totally up to you.
Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing, we've gone into business for a reason. It might have been that we didn't want to have a boss telling us what to do. We wanted to run our own show. We went into business because we wanted the time flexibility that it allows us. We went into business because we wanted to not have that income ceiling that we can't bust through.
Mm,
And
mm,
so it's interesting because sometimes we end up creating a business just like we would have had our 9 to 5.
yeah.
And we can then go, actually, what am I doing here? I'm not loving and enjoying this like I was expecting to. And it's
Yeah.
because you really created a business that you haven't really intentionally created to be that way.
Yeah.
And it's because, and this isn't to shame at all, we've all
Yeah.
been there. Well, most of us have been there. But what happens is exactly what you said. We start our business and we feel like we need to say yes and take on all the clients, or we feel like we need to perhaps adapt and do something a little different than we want to, because we feel like, well, I'm only new to this. I'm just getting started. I need to
Mm-hmm.
try these things.
Mm.
So getting really clear on everything in your business in terms of what it is that you're wanting to achieve in your business. Who is your ideal client? And I don't just mean, creating this ideal, but it's like, who are the people you really want to work with and serve? Who are the people that
Yeah.
you want to call into your business? What are the things you want to be doing in your business? And when you're looking at the things you want to do in your business, really look at it from the lens of like, what are the things that I'm really skilled at? What are the things I really love and enjoy in my business?
Mm.
And what are the things that I don't necessarily love and enjoy? And, it might be the admin side of it. Actually, I don't really love and enjoy the admin. And if that's the case, when you've got that bigger picture goal, you can be like, okay, long term, I know that I want to source a team member, whether it be a VA, whether it be somebody that you employ into the business, to take over those things so that I can have more of the things I love and enjoy. And when you get clear on all of these things, it really helps you in decision-making processes in all aspects of the business. It's, so many things can change from that. And also getting clear on what are your business values? What are the things that are most important within your business as well? These are all so important to get clear on, even in the early stages. And in actual fact,
Yes.
highly recommend you get clear from the
Yes.
very, very beginning. And we don't always, because sometimes our businesses have been born from a place of, we do this thing, we really love and enjoy it. Oh, we can make money from it. And then it snowballs from there. And so we don't always have the groundwork of those foundations in place. But no matter what stage of business you're at, I would encourage you to sit down and start thinking about these things. Even if they feel so out of reach, they feel so far away, it's really helpful to get clear on those things. And it then helps you have that goalpost that you're working towards, and knowing that this is what I'm striving for, this is what I'm wanting to create. It really does change the game for you.
Yeah. There's so much good stuff in there, especially talking about knowing what you even enjoy doing in your work. Business ownership or running a business, like just business operations require like specific things. Every business needs to have bookkeeping. Like most of us live in a country where we pay taxes. We have to like file a tax return. And, like a lot of people could argue that you need a website. Like there are certain things that you have to do when you're operating a business. And you start out by doing all of those things usually because you don't have the resources to pay somebody else to do it, but it has to be done. And having that vision and that goal of like, yeah, I got to do this now, but like, I really want to get to the point where where I'm not the one pushing that button. And it's so good to kind of keep that in focus so that you are moving towards something and it's like in a positive direction instead of running away from poverty or burning out or a shitty job and a boss that you hate. Like, shifting your focus from like, I want to get away from these negative things that I don't like to, I want to move towards this thing that is a positive like goal that I want to get to. And,
Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody wants to be like running away from danger or shitty circumstances all the time.
No. And I think when you have that ideal image in mind of the life and the business that you're wanting to have, it helps you through those challenging times. We are inevitably going to hit challenges along the way,
Hmm.
especially as business owners. It's a journey in itself. And so when
Hmm.
you have this clear image of what it is that you're working towards, it really does help you navigate through those challenges with a little bit more ease, knowing that this is what I'm working towards. And I know for me, especially being a mum in business, the biggest part of my why in my business is that time flexibility and freedom that it allows me to have, that I
Yeah.
get to take my kids to school. I get to pick them up every day. If they have
Yeah.
an assembly, I get to be there for it. And it's those moments that make me go, I'm so grateful for my business and the work that it has taken to get myself here because of
Yeah.
what it allows me. And I know in those early days when you are laying those foundations and it is go, go, go time, and you feel like you are putting your all into something and not always getting the results you want, keeping in mind of what it is you're working towards really helps, because then when you get there, you will feel so much gratitude for it because you're like, I've worked so hard to get to this point, and I'm so grateful for past me, for all
Mm-hmm.
the work that she did that has landed me in this place. And so I just wanted to say that because I know that if you are in the startup phase and that early stage of business, it's a lot. And,
Yeah.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it because it's a lot. You are putting so much of your time, energy, resources into it. But know that in time, when you get the results, when you get the outcome that you're wanting to, when you can see that end vision getting closer and closer, you'll know that every little bit of it has been so worth it.
I love this. I want to take what you just said and draw a connection back to something that you said earlier, talking about moms being like having a superpower when it comes to running a business, because everything you just said, we could just slide that over to talk about newborns. I have younger siblings that like I was old enough whenever they were born that I distinctly remember what it is like to live in a house with a newborn. I had a friend recently who I was their support person during birth, and I was there for a lot of the early
Oh.
infancy stages, kind of helping her out. And so like I am not a mom. I'm totally, that's how I prefer it. But like, I know, like, I've had pretty much a front row seat to that experience. And everything you just said, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it's like having a newborn. You're like staring at them and you're afraid that if you blink, they'll stop breathing. And then, like, you are flying by the seat of your pants, especially if it's your first time with a baby. Like, it is a lot, and you're just literally learning every single moment. You think that you did all the reading and the research and, hearing other people's experiences, and then yours just ends up being completely different from anybody else's. And I think that is such a good parallel to running a business. So can you talk more about that and why that means that if you're a mom who wants to start a business for whatever reason, that you have this unique superpower that the rest of us cannot even tap into?
It is so interesting because it is so similar. Like being a mom and entrepreneurship are so similar because it is exactly what you just said. You go into it with all hopes and dreams, and you feel you're equipped to handle this thing. And then all of a sudden you're thrust into mum life or business life. And you're like, this isn't what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And you have no choice but to ride that wave. You have no
Yep.
choice but to get in there and do what needs to be done. And I think that's the superpower part, is we are able to just adapt to our environment, to our situation with a little bit more ease because we've been there, done that as a mum raising our children.
Yep.
And so no matter what stage of motherhood you're in, from birthing that child to raising that child, you have had to navigate so much at once. And we are navigating things whilst also having life things going on in the background. It doesn't mean that we still don't have these other challenges, and we are forced to just deal with what we're dealing with and keep going forward. And so that's the superpower part to being a mum. And I think we have such a push and drive in us, because for me, when I became a mum, everything shifted, as it so often does, but my why and my reason for things became amplified so severely. So for me, yes, I want to create this business that I have created because I'm passionate about it, I'm fulfilled about it, it's something that truly lights my soul on fire. But I have such a drive for it because I'm also doing it for my family. I want them to have the most incredible life. I want to be able to be there for my children and have that time, flexibility, and freedom that allows me to still be the mum that I'm wanting to be, but still also not lose myself in it and still have something that I love and am passionate about as well. And so I just feel like it helps us have this motivation and drive not like no other, because I'm not just doing it for me, I'm doing it for my family as well. And so that is something that will help propel you forward and navigate those challenges as you go, that you have these people that you're doing it for as well. And I'll never forget when I was still working. So my job that I had before was I worked at my local hospital. And so I would have to, drop kids off to daycare or before school care, and then work the whole day. And then they would have to, after school, go back to after school care or daycare at the time. And then I'd pick them up. We'd come home, we'd rush and do tea, bath and bedtime. And when I finally let go of that job to go all in on my business, I will never forget my daughter saying to me, so I don't have to go to daycare or after school care anymore. You get to pick me up. And she literally welled up because she was so excited that mum could pick her up every single day. And I'll never forget that moment, because to me, it was such a pivotal moment anyway, to finally let go of that job and go all in on my business. And I was, a huge part of that was I'm just doing it for my family, but to know that it meant so much to her as well was just this big heart moment that was like, oh my gosh. It's been worth it. All these blood, sweat, and tears has been worth it.
Fine. Kids say the darndest things.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful that like even at her young age, she was like, oh, like I see that I'm part of this decision and that makes her feel loved and cared
Yeah.
for. And it's just like, oh, so good. And I was thinking about this too in terms of parallel between like um giving birth to a business or a creative idea and putting it out into the world and then having a child. Like in the early stages and when they're, newborns and then like toddlers, like a lot of that is so stressful, just like dealing with a human being that like does not, their brain is just not developed. And when you are in the first couple of years of your business, as I am right now, like I'm not saying, but you said something earlier, like you first start your business, like it is really hard and you really just kind of have to go through it. And it's the same thing with like children, I think. Like they get to a point where finally they're using the bathroom by themselves. And you're like, okay, just like one less thing I have to do to help this tiny person. And like
Yeah.
your business is going to go through developmental stages too to get to the point where like it gets a little bit more self-sufficient every day. And if you're willing to like stick it out, like it's just going to be something amazing that is still
Mhm.
apart from you. Like it's separate from you. And it's going to be its own thing, just like your children are. So I thank you for sharing that story. That was like really sweet. And I love that.
Yeah, I think it's so true though, because we do go through these different stages in business as well. And what I see and what I've witnessed is those who are successful in business are the ones that keep persevering. And
Mm,
they are the ones who keep showing up. They're the ones who don't give up despite the challenges, adversity, whatever it is that they're faced. They are the ones who will be successful. So if you are someone who's listening and you're like, I'm in the thick of it and it feels so hard, and
yes.
like, when is this going to get easier? I promise you, it will get easier. It will get better. Keep
Yes.
going, keep
Yes.
persevering, because I will tell you, I can't even tell you actually how many times I nearly gave up along the way. And I'm so grateful I didn't, because it did get easier, it did get better, and
Yeah.
those results finally came. But
Mm-hmm.
I saw so many people along my way give up along the way, and it's just that perseverance, being consistent, continually showing up, doing the work, that will be the key to unlocking success for you. So if you're listening and you're like, it's tricky for me right now, please keep going. I promise you, you will get the results that you're wanting to. Sometimes it does take time.
Yeah. It really does. And it's going to take more time than you think. And, you know, commitment doesn't mean that you stick with something that isn't working either. If there is something that's not working and getting you the results and you've like seriously put in time and resources and, energy into it, like it's okay to change it, but like that doesn't mean you give up on the whole kit and caboodle unless you want to. Like, that's always an option. But if you're committed to sticking it out and persevering, like there is support out there, there's resources out there to get you the help that you need and help you see the results that you want to create. And yeah, what a fantastic message. And a great parallel to parenthood and raising children.
Yeah.
So good. Renae, where can we find you if we want to follow you, if we want to work with you and be in your orbit?
Yeah, so my favorite place to hang out is on Instagram. So you'll find me at Renae.O'Neill. And then, of course, I've got the podcast as well. I absolutely love chatting and collaborating with others. So that is the Mum Boss podcast, where you are also a guest on it. So
Yeah.
your listeners can come over and check that out as well. And then obviously you've got my website, renaeo'neill.com as well. So there are a few different ways to work with me. My favorite being, I've recently launched a mastermind, so the Mum Boss Mastermind. And that's an incredible community of mums in business where I work with them in a group coaching setting. So that is available as well. So yeah.
Congratulations on launching a mastermind. That's so amazing. And I'll make sure to have all of your links in the show notes so that folks can go follow the podcast, subscribe, follow you on Instagram, and connect and reach out if they need support, or maybe just to like talk about how kind of hard it is sometimes to be a
Yes.
mom and or running a business.
I would absolutely love that. I'm always like, come and jump in the DMs, let me know you've listened and let's chat, because I think connection is the
Mhm.
piece that so often mums in business in particular really crave. And I know for me in growing a business as a mum, I didn't have anyone else in my world doing that. I felt very
Yeah.
alone. And I think being a mum, you already feel pretty isolated and alone. And then you add
Yes.
business on top of that, it can feel a lot. So jump in my DMs, come and say hi. I would absolutely love to chat to you.
Yeah, I'm just soliciting everybody to just go like get in your DMs. But I agree, like we all need connection. None of us should have to feel like we're doing this alone. And most business owners that I know are totally open to just having a conversation or just like
Yes.
listening. So if you need that support and you're feeling like you're doing it alone, like you can come into my space and be in my community. You can come into Renee's space, and I'm sure she will welcome you with open arms too. Like you do not have to do this alone. And we're here for you because as much as I'm committed to like being successful for me, I'm committed to my client's success too.
Yes.
And it sounds like that's the case for you as well.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing brings me more joy than to see my clients succeed. Like it
Yes.
fills me with so much love and joy. So yeah, I feel the exact same way.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being a guest on Money Through Ease, Renae, and for connecting with me and having me on your podcast too.
Oh, thank you so much. I've absolutely loved being here and honored to be here as well.
Thanks. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Money Through Ease. If you found value in today's discussion, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a rating and review. Your feedback really does mean a lot to me. And if you're ready to take the first step towards organized finances, be sure to download my free receipt organization guide, Chaos to Calm. Visit the link in the show notes to grab your free copy now. Remember, your financial journey starts with small steps. I'm here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, this is Reagan Bashara from Money Through Ease. Stay empowered.